So we're going to do some case updates. So let's see. I did one yesterday. We're going to do another one today. But before I go into that, if you are new to the channel, please subscribe. If you are coming again to see this, thank you for the support. Because I talk about real issues here. I really do. I talk about the missing people that don't get talked about. I talk about different aspects of cases that maybe someone didn't even think about. You know, these are things I talk about. But especially when it comes to missing children or missing endangered people, you know, we need to get these videos out because somebody could see something and not realize they saw something. So that's the whole point of this. So we're going to talk about some things tonight that are a little bit more on the public spotlight. And I'm going to give you my take on some of it. So first, let's talk about the man that's been arrested for the Israeli embassy killings of the 2 aides that were there at the Washington Jewish Museum. I'm not a very political individual. Let me make that clear. I'm just not. I grew up in a very devout Catholic Republican household in the state of Kentucky, right outside of Cincinnati, Ohio. So it's northern Kentucky. You know, I was 5 minutes from Cincinnati. It is what it is. Both my parents were very involved with the Republican Party. They, you know, very Republican. I didn't really understand politics at that point. I just kind of voted whatever my family said I needed to do. When I got married, my late husband was a very devout Democrat. And his attitude was, we vote the way I say we need to vote. So, you know, I went from Republican to Democrat. My mother was completely devastated, but it is what it is. She and my late husband would go back and forth about issues all night long. And then when he passed away almost 3 years ago, hello. And when he passed away almost 3 years ago, I started finally being able to think for myself. So I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat, I'm more of a person in the middle. You know, I vote my conscience, I vote what issues are important to me. You know, these are the things where I go. So I wanted to get that cleared up because when I start talking about this embassy aides killing, I don't want anybody to misconstrue. Bye. I didn't want anybody to misconstrue where my mindset was. So this whole thing with Israel and Gaza has just been a nightmare all the way around. And the man that they arrested, he was a he's a man from Chicago. And his name is Elias Rodriguez, 31. He walked into the Washington Jewish Museum and shot this young couple. They were embassy aides for the Israel embassy. And he killed them. They had known each other for a long time, this couple. They were about to get engaged. He ended their life. And when he was being pulled out by the police after he had been arrested, he screamed, I did it for Palestine, I did it for Gaza. What did these two people have to do with what's going on over in Gaza? They had nothing to do with it. They're just two innocent people. Just like when Palestine went into Israel, and actually I shouldn't say Palestine, Hamas went into Israel on October 7th and massacred all those people. I will never understand why these two groups hate each other so much. I'll never understand that. And because this war has gone on for so long, there's been too much bloodshed on both sides. So it just needs to stop. Because now we've got protests on college campuses where Jewish students can't go to school. We've got now people walking to museums, getting people down. Where does it stop? Because what happens over there in Gaza is happening over there in Gaza. We are in the United States, so you cannot, You cannot punish U.S. citizens for what's happening overseas. You just can't. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And I will sit there and say, I am not going to pass judgment on Palestine or Israel because I don't know enough about the situation to pass judgment, and it's not my place to judge. It's just not. But I think they just need to stop because innocent people are getting killed constantly on both sides. Women, children, the elderly. There's no hospitals, there's no food. I will not understand why they had to do what they did on either side. I just won't understand. I mean, I get why Israel attacked the way they did, but I'll never understand why Hamas went in there and massacred those people like that. I don't. So I feel for the family of the 2 people that were killed at the embassy. I pray for their loved ones, give them peace, and they never should have been killed. So there's that. So let's get into P. Diddy. P. Diddy. More bombshells. Kid Cudi, testified today. And what I find interesting is they are really, really trying very hard. The defense is really trying very, very hard to paint Cassie Ventura as this fallen woman. This I guess thought. I don't know. I'm not sure what way to put it. Hello, everybody. I don't know. I mean, it's one hand, Diddy had no reason to put his hands on her. I mean, and that's the thing, we keep hearing this overarching over and over again. Oh, I saw him hit her. I saw him drag her. I saw him pull her hair. I saw him bust her lip. I saw this. I saw that. So you're hearing more corroborating testimony describing the domestic violence that was going on between the 2 of them. But, at one point, I mean, Diddy gives me the impression that he was like, okay, you're mine, or if you can't be mine, you can't be anybody's. That's kind of how I'm getting how he was. And that explains to me more why she stayed with him when she should have left. Where am I from? I am from originally Cincinnati, Ohio. I am in North Carolina now. So, yeah, because that was my thing I didn't understand. So she had ample opportunity to get away from him, but she didn't take the opportunity. I couldn't understand why. Now I understand why. Because there were times where she was getting help, and they're like, well, you need to call the cops. She's like, no, I can't, because he's got FBI agents working for him and whatnot. So that's deep, if that's actually true. If he had former agents or current agents working, doing security for him, that's scary as hell. And everybody who has come forth and testified against him, they better pray to God they lock his ass up, because if they don't lock him up, I'm only concerned about what he's going to do if he gets loose. So, he's got major, major psychological issues, in my opinion. Diddy does. And I think, and I did a video on this a while back, I think he's trying to be like his father. He's trying to be a gangster. And he's, hello. So that's basically where I think this is where all this personality and all this issue is coming from. He grew up to be a gangster. Now, there's been some talk that his mom groomed him to be the sexually explicit individual that he is. I can't speak to that. But I do know she has a history of being an adult, what's the word I want to use? Adult entertainer, so to speak. So, I don't know. But many people have spoken on the relationship that Diddy and his mom have, and they did say it was just not normal. That the way they would kiss each other with the mouth, it just didn't seem right. And when your gut tells you something like that, you probably should listen to it. But I don't know. I guess it looks like his family hasn't been in court either, so he's starting to lose a little bit of support there. But again, it's going to be interesting to hear the testimony as new people come up. There's talk that Justin Bieber's been subpoenaed, Ashton Kutcher, Jay-Z. Oh, you're from India. Okay, nice to meet you. Jennifer Lopez needs to have her butt there. They need to get her to testify because she can talk to the shooting. in the club that he went on trial for 20 years ago. Because a coworker of mine, he asked me, he's like, "Do I think Shine was gonna be testifying?" I said, "Well, they probably should get him, because Shine's the one who actually went down for the shooting in the club." But he's swearing up and down it wasn't him. He's saying he just took the blame for Diddy. That's the good question. Did he do it or did he not do it? Who knows? But this is just the beginning. We're only in week 2 of this trial. Actually, we're ending. Tomorrow will be the last day of week 2. And then next week, we got a holiday on Monday, so it's going to be 4 days. I can only imagine who else they're going to be bringing, because we've heard from exotic dancers, we've heard from strippers, we've heard from... You don't understand my language, what am I saying? I'm talking about Puff Daddy. But we've heard from makeup artists. We've heard from best friend, the best friend of Cassie Ventura, who also was abused by Diddy and got a $30,000 settlement and an NDA with a non-disclosure agreement. So far I think 2 different personal assistants have testified. But Kid Cudi, that's the one that got me, because when Diddy found out that Ventura and Cudi were dating, he went nuts and broke into Kid Cudi's house and torched his car. Like, what on earth is going on? Hello. Like, how this guy has never been arrested for anything is beyond me. I don't understand it. I don't understand how this keeps happening. Like, who does he have on the payroll? Because it's starting to look like that he's always had somebody covering for his butt. I mean, look at R. Kelly. R. Kelly, I don't think, had anybody in law enforcement's covering for him, but he had enough regular people on his payroll that they just made things happen. So, I don't know. I mean, this is insane. Absolutely insane. And, like I said, the whole thing is crazy. Because every day is just a new bombshell. A new bombshell. And I feel for Cassie, because every bit of her dirty laundry is being aired out. And people have been talking like, how's her husband handling this? What do you think is going to happen? And I would not be surprised. I don't want this to happen for her, because it's just awful. But I would not be surprised if she and her husband are no longer together in the next year. I mean, she's about to have another child. So, he'll stick around, for the birth of his son. But after that, I mean, if they don't get into marriage counseling to talk this out, they're going to be done for. And maybe marriage counseling may not work. But they need some type of therapy to get through this, because you can't sit there and listen to all the horrible sexual things your wife has been put through, all the awful things she's been put through, the fact that she's had so many urinary tract infections from all the chronic partners, to the point where antibiotics don't work anymore. That kind of stuff. I mean, that's deep. That's very, very deep. And I don't know how any man could sit there and listen to that about their wife. I just don't know. Granted, it was before him. She apparently had a drug addiction, was in and out of rehab. That's a lot to take. But I don't know. Like I said, I would not be surprised if they're no longer together in the next year. And Kid Cudi even said, the defense attorney even said, Cassie Ventura played you and Diddy at the same time. He's like, yes, she did. So, I mean, it seems like he doesn't even have love for Cassie Ventura anymore. And that they broke up because he didn't want to deal with Diddy's drama. It was just too much drama, which I can't blame him on that. But, I don't know. Like I said, for every new witness they put up there, it just seems to vindicate what Cassie Ventura was saying. And it gives another line of questioning to go down, that it's getting closer and closer to that, trafficking, to that racketeering charge that he has. Because In the very beginning, when they had her up, I was like, God, why did they put her on so early? But then again, she's 8 months pregnant, so got to get her testimony out of there because she's about to give birth. So, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see how they tie it all together. And they're starting to. I'm starting to see the branches of where stuff is going. So I do think Diddy is going to go down for something. Whether he'll be in for 10 years or 30 years, I don't know. But I do believe he's going to go down for something. And everybody who's testified against him so far needs to be careful. Because one girl, Dawn Richards, who was part of that girl group Danity Kane that Diddy created on that show, Making the Band, has even made the comment that Diddy had the power to make people disappear if you made him angry. So, if that's the case, everybody needs to be careful. Every single one of them. And these lawsuits, all the women that are claiming, women and men that are claiming that they were assaulted by Diddy in a sexual manner, that's still ongoing. They're getting those filed. But I am really curious to hear if they're able to get any of these A-list celebrities on the stand. Now, granted, you can get a halfway decent attorney to deal with a subpoena, but it's a federal subpoena, so it's going to be hard for them to get around that. But we shall see. We shall see. But like I said, the Jewish Museum shooting, that's just so sad. That's what I was talking about in the very beginning. I will not understand how this guy thought shooting these two people was going to do anything for the cause of Palestine. I don't understand. So, too much hate in this world, too much crime in this world. This world sucks. I'm going to leave it at that. So this is Rebecca with Red True Crime. I'm going to hop off here. Thank you for joining me this evening. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe and share, like, comment, all that good stuff. But otherwise, be weird, be rude, be safe, and have a great Memorial Day weekend. I'm out of here. Bye.